We're back with Is the Now Morning Show on an Ash Wednesday to begin with. 2 days after Carnival, Monday and Tuesday, when Carrie is doing pretty okay, actually.
Yeah, I'm doing all right now. I'm doing all right now because
right now.
it's the time, the regular time in which you would feel a Carnival to Banca because, Carnival gone.
Right.
But this time we didn't have Carnival in the same ways, not, the road and whatever. So it's a different kind of feeling.
And I'll tell you what, I did actually feel as if I experienced Carnival the same way, believe it or not. So we're going to talk about that right now with behavioral change therapist Wendell DeLeon. Good morning, Wendell.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Now Morning Show.
Hi, it's a pleasure. And I just want to say Carrie lying though.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because today is Wednesday, we'll be on the beach, Dread. You forget.
It's true. Well, I make it a point not to go on the beach on Ash Wednesday because of all the crowd and traffic, especially the traffic. Yeah.
But you see that kind of vibes up there, boy? It's
So
nothing right now.
Is it quiet? But
Well,
because of COVID.
Because of COVID,
Yeah.
a lot would have changed. And of course, we are seeing the fallouts of that. Our society usually, especially Trinidad and Tobago, let's narrow it in.
Right.
Carnival has been our release over the years. Without a doubt, we have been classified as, a potpourri of people where we come together and that's the melting pot, and all the issues, the politics, the race, everything just get swept away, and the stresses of life itself, work. You know what that is like every day, and people save up for this. People put aside their vacation for this just to deal with this.
And not just from Trinidad and Tobago, but from the entire diaspora.
Oh gosh,
so it ripples through the world.
As a matter of fact, we have some Carnival jumbies where it's go from Carnival to Carnival, all over the world.
Correct.
But for us, for the people in Trinidad and Tobago, mostly, it is our escape. It has been, and there was no escape this year. So people, what I am concerned about...
We're not just talking about people who are Carnival people, but also the Christian community. Because there is the camps, the camp caravan people who would have gone to the remote communities who would not have been able to do that this year.
Yeah, the revival and those things that they would have done.
Correct.
So while some people merrimenting, they get a chance, to do their bit as well. So there's been that clear divide. But for the most part, let's say 80% of our society, whether we are participating from a viewer's perspective or we are involved in the mass, Carnival has been always a look forward to, plan, put aside your money, save, everything.
Yeah.
And when we don't have it now, there is the society now, the question we're asking now is, so what do I do in lieu of Carnival?
Right.
And some people still haven't been able to answer that question, because when I take a trip, whether you go, wherever you go, you're still reeling with the fact that COVID is ever so present. So you have to do all the protocols, and I think we saw a lot of people trying to just do away with it as a way of pushing back against it in terms of not adhering to protocol. The backyard jam, the backyard party, it's in my head.
Yes.
And
do you think people would have engaged in self-destructive behavior to compensate for the sense of loss that they might have felt?
Risky, because the pushback, for example, would have been risky. I know some people would have gone to some juvenile limes. I know deliberately they try to make it, they try to toe the very edge of what the law or the protocols are, just to get that little thing inside. And I mean, I could truly empathize with what they're dealing with. In terms of self-destructive behaviors, I'm not certain that we'll get that now, but I'm not going to put it past the next few months that people who have not been able to get that release will now find, maybe we mightn't see it because it's a little insidious in terms of people, the use of drugs, probably marijuana, closet drinking. Those are things that may increase, and we may not always see it. Self-destructive because the tensions are increasing as well, financial issues that they just don't know what to do, and that for some people would have been, you know what, the hell with it, I come in and just revel
and free up.
And I'll get back to it, today is when I would really think about it, it's like after I take my hit. And that's what we have to be mindful of. I think we have to probably put some things in place in terms of doing some interventions in, let's say, down the road, self-awareness program, sensitization to people who may be feeling a particular way. Let's take in front before it happens. Let's start to let people know if you're feeling a particular way, if depression is hitting, let us start to, let's have a talk. Let us, in terms of the media and other programs, let us be able to reach them so that as they feel it, there's already an escape for it.
But the thing is that there's nothing that can really substitute that level of abandon and release, right? So what are some coping tactics individuals like myself can use in, I don't even want to say in lieu of Carnival, but, you know, considering we did not have a Carnival in the way we would have hoped and loved it to have been, you know, what are coping mechanisms that one can use in their daily lives so that although we didn't have that release, we're not in a state where there's this pent-up tension.
You know, I'm glad Carrie said that before you answer that, Wendell, because let's use Carrie as a case study. You know, Carrie is one way, and the way he describes it, so I've never seen Carrie on the road, but the way, you know, Carrie is one way all the time. You see him like this, right? He's like this. I could just picture Carrie saying, Lisa, if you see me on the road, you wouldn't recognize me.
Listen.
How is he going to cope? What is he going to do in his regular life to have this wild abandon that I really want to see you one of these days, Carrie, right? Maybe I wouldn't recognize
Come on the road
him.
next year.
Yeah, you know? Listen.
How is he going?
You
What
could
kind
imagine
of
that tell
coping
you no Carnival next year. No, don't answer that. Don't even imagine.
Boy.
You know, what is the coping strategy for that?
Firstly, I can't paint a broad brush approach. Like outside of a educational or awareness program, I think it has to be a case by case. So in his case, he has to decide what is important for him in terms of what else could I substitute Carnival for. Now, we have no travel, so that's another thing that people can't use. Beaches are still guarded, so you could use the beach. Of course, if that works for you. I just want people to take some time out, though, but not in the house because people are already cooped up. So find ways of getting outside the house and in a healthy way, whether it's nature, whether it's, you know, going down by the Bamboo Cathedral, maybe the Botanic Garden. I go work for Carrie. You know that just...
Well, I did, funny enough, I do that very often, you know, as a means of finding tranquility and peace and, you know, relieving the tension of the air in a subtle way,
right?
You know, in that type of environment. So it's very, very different. It's not the same, obviously, but it's something.
It is. You know, surprisingly, you see what I mean? The fella has a softer side, you know. Yeah. But that would help with some things. I think people need to also do, and maybe, I don't know if we'll be allowed to say this on air, but the little backyard jam with your family is also a form of release where you have, you know, people that you are comfortable with, friends and families over, where it's within the protocols, of course, and you do your little bit throughout the year. So you didn't get a big burst for Carnival, but if you could get some little bits inside of there, it would help. Of course, all within reason. And as I said, not outside in the open space where somebody could be picking you up and putting you in a vehicle, you know, but something within, again, within reason and in your home. Outside of that, I am going to say, because you want the merriment side of it, outside of the nice, tranquil, like what we just mentioned, you know, people still want that uppity, that adrenaline rush.
Yes.
The next adrenaline rush I could tell you is, the gym or wherever you could find, you see. Like I talk in your language, boy.
Preaching to the choir. That's exactly what's happening.
The gym, that's another form of release. You know, if you have a partner, well, I don't need to tell you the other release. You can figure that one out.
That was going through my mind. I was going to say, okay, let's get a little taboo here, maybe some sexual.
Yes, that will work. Of course, all in moderation, because you don't want it to become now another form of obsession where it spills over into something else.
Right.
So in terms of managing that, and we have people, of course, who are still dealing with the stress of not having to deal with Carnival and relationship issues and all the other things inside of there. So for those people, I would want to recommend you probably, I mean, not that I'm asking for work, but you could probably find a therapist and go and have a conversation or so where you get another form of release. Yoga is also good. Yeah. Outside of
speaking of work, as you mentioned that Carnival time would have been a time of employment, and there are a number of people, there's a large part of the population who would have made a living during this time, and you know, the stresses of not having a work, not being, not having a means of earning an income many times, and having that added stress. You know, how do they begin to address that and you know, cope with that factor as well?
I think this is not just Carnival, though. I think this is COVID. I mean, we need to go back before Carnival, where a lot of people have been sent home. People are on the breadline, so people cannot pay their mortgages, their car loans, all these things. So I think people have to now revisit the way they do business. We have to look at new entrepreneurial areas, in that maybe there are areas that there's a deficit of, let's say, in agriculture sector, we need a lot more food. We realize that, you know, we are running low on forex, and we cannot afford a lot of the foreign goods. So we have to resort to local. So people could use that as a way of, you know, maybe trying to earn the extra income in there. Because as it is right now, we have no new spots opening up. Companies are not expanding, they are getting leaner. So we really have to look inside of there to how we as individuals can become more self-sufficient and entrepreneurial.
Well, on that note, we're going to bring you back, you know. You're going to be back here on Friday, because we are, yes, you are, because we need to talk about this is like 2 weeks into the school term. And we're going to talk about the parents and the teachers, how they are coping with going back into school, the hybrid situation, as well as what you just segued into, you know, people coping with the lack of employment and so on. That whole coping during COVID. So that's another conversation. We're talking about Carnival today, but, you know, it segued into the coping with COVID, and particularly, you know, some parents, you know, they've been home with the virtual learning, and now they're going back into the schools and the teachers and so on. We wanted to touch that as well. So that's another convetion right there. But we got to kick it upstairs to the news right now, guys. And we'll be back with Wendell DeLeon. You're going to be like Dr. Erica Weaver right there on the Now Morning Show.